Welcome back, everyone. We're here with another Q&A. Today, we're going to answer a lot of questions as fast as possible. Thanks for coming. And then also, anything I say is not meant to diagnose or replace your medical care. Check with your doctor before implementing any of the so-called cures we might suggest.
All right, very good. Let's launch right into social media, and let's kick it off with Michelle from YouTube. What should I be taking for a mineral deficiency that is affecting tooth health? Didn't say what it is.
Well, the minerals that build the tooth are not just calcium. And I would actually, for calcium, I would get it from food, like dairy, like especially like good European cheeses would be best. And then cottage cheese is fine. But then the key minerals are going to be the trace minerals, because those are the cofactors that allow you to build bone. But don't forget, there's key vitamins that are needed as well. And that would be vitamin K2, vitamin D3, but especially vitamin K2. That tells the body where to put the calcium. But there's a little key cofactor that's called magnesium that is necessary too to make bones real strong. So magnesium, K2, D3, zinc, of course, and then the trace minerals. And that include boron and things like that.
All right. Hope you get some strong teeth out of that. Rumble 8827 from Rumble. I'm struggling with sleeplessness. I wake up at 1:30 a.m. and I can't get back to sleep, and now dealing with panic attacks. Sorry to hear that. Are these conditions related?
Yes, they are, because if you're not sleeping, your cortisol will go up. But the fact that you get up between 1 and 3 means that your cortisol is probably already high. Couple things to reduce it. Make sure your diet is not refined carbohydrates. That'll deplete things like B1 that's necessary to help calm the mind and prevent the panic attacks. So B1 is necessary, but the refined carbs pull it out. So I would change the diet, get on a low carb diet, have 2 meals a day, have that last meal as early as possible. And then definitely add magnesium glycinate, maybe even a powder form in the evening. So that way, when you go to sleep, you wind down nicely. There's a couple other things to do relating to make sure that you're, a couple hours before you go to bed, there's turn the lights down, maybe even wear the blue blockers that help you screen out the blue light, because you want to wind down, reduce cortisol. And then when you wake up in the morning, either go outside and get some of that sunlight for 20 minutes or get some type of full spectrum lighting in the morning to kind of reset your circadian waves. But I had that problem for an entire decade, and I didn't know what it was, getting up in the middle of the night. That's cortisol. So I think the best thing to look up my videos on cortisol and reducing stress, and then sleep, because the combination is really going to be powerful.
All right. Get some rest. Amir from Facebook, what's the best way to get rid of gastritis quickly?
Well, first of all, if it's a true gastritis, your cells are producing more acid. Apple cider vinegar won't help that. You have to kind of regulate the production of the cells that make acid. And zinc carnosine is probably one of the best things to do. Also, that could be coming from a microbe called H. pylori, in which case, that really stems from your diet being off. So you want to get on the correct diet. Cabbage seems to be the only vegetable that tends to work well with gastritis, but also a good probiotic, because some of that problem could be coming from lower in the digestive tract. I would also, sulforaphane can help put that microbe back in remission and stabilize this gastritis. I think what people really need is better protocols for these problems, and stay tuned. We are going to have these protocols listed for you on the website very soon.
All right, very good. Let's go to Penny from Rumble. My recent brain MRI has revealed an overall decrease in size. What can I do to improve or reverse this process? Didn't mention how old she was.
Wait, what has shrunk?
Her brain. So the size of her brain has shrunk in her skull.
I hate that when that happens. Yeah, so there's several things that cause atrophy of your brain, especially parts of the brain. And usually that's going to be related to your diet. So to again, go back or even just start. I don't know if you've ever been on a healthy version of the ketogenic diet, but we need to run the brain on ketones. That bypasses all this damage that occurs from starving the brain cells by consuming too much sugar and hidden sugar. So that being said, do the diet, add more exercise, get more sleep. Those three things will probably help you more than anything. Also, a good chunk of the brain is made out of a certain type of fat called DHT, which you can get from cod liver oil. So that's an omega-3 fat that can help you as well.
All right, very good. We have guests, of course, that we bring on, and one of them is from Scotland. Her name is Elise Murray, and she asked if we could just read her question rather than sticking her on the air, so we aim to please. So Elise asks, what would you recommend for bladder and vaginal biofilms? I've tried thyme and oregano, but they don't seem to get rid of the problem. What would you suggest? I truly appreciate your time and dedication to helping the world with such health challenges.
Yeah, so there's a lot to be said about these biofilms. You have to be careful because when you break up the biofilms, you release these microbes, and you can start detoxing. So you got to be careful not to kind of like try to load up yourself with all sorts of things. There is some great therapies related to penetrate some of these biofilms that are deep in protection mode in these igloo type calcium structures, and they kind of go under the radar of your immune system, so they resist antibiotics. And so what you can do, there's a combination of taking methylene blue, small doses of it, diluted, food grade, with light therapy, red light therapy. The combination of red light and that methylene blue is a great, unique, I think it's going to be trendy very soon, natural remedy to kill things like MRSA, to kill resistant foreign bacteria, to kill microbes that live in biofilms. So you literally put the light, so you take methylene blue, and then you put the light like on the bladder, wherever this is, and it can actually very nicely kill it. So that combination of both of those, and they both also greatly support your mitochondria as well. But there's some interesting data on biofilms and using those two therapies at the same time.
All right, so let's start with our quiz questions that everyone looks forward to each week. And the first one I think is quite interesting. There you go, Dr. Berg.
So if testosterone, including DHT, which by the way is a more powerful form of testosterone, declines as we age, then why would DHT be the cause of an enlarged prostate?
Quite the conundrum. All right, let's go back to Dre Day from YouTube. What is the best way to get rid of excess mucus?
NAC is a remedy for that. It's one of the best forms of getting rid of the thinning and getting rid of mucus. It also helps your own immune system. So NAC is what you need to get.
All right, very good. Let's go to Martia from Facebook. Would lion's mane mushrooms help get a good night's sleep?
Maybe. Sometimes you may want to use instead ashwagandha. Has more research for sleep anyway. And then of course magnesium glycinate is even more powerful and to reduce cortisol and relax your muscles so you can go to sleep. And the magnesium glycinate has glycine in it, which actually also helps to make GABA. So if you think about in the brain, the brake pads are GABA. And then you have the accelerator, which is glutamate. So you need to balance those out and get to the right ratio. So adding more glycine can greatly help sleep, and it also it does something else. It reduces your temperature of your body, because one of the triggers for sleep is to drop your core body temperature by a degree, which is interesting because that's kind of a stable point, but that actually induces sleep. So this is why it's important when you go to sleep is to stay a little cooler I sleep just with the sheet. I don't have any blankets. But if your feet get cold, your body will compensate and heat up the rest of the body. So either wear socks to bed or just have a blanket on your feet, keep those warm, but just have a sheet on the rest of your body, and you'll sleep like a baby. Of course,
Wonderful.
babies are up all night crying.
That's a good point. Trust Monkey from YouTube. I used to drink alcohol quite a bit. Now I'm trying to live a more healthy life. What steps will best heal my liver now that they've quit?
The diet is going to be the most important thing. Get on a healthy version of the ketogenic diet. I would also recommend consuming various foods that help detoxify the liver, like cruciferous, especially arugula. That's a good base of your salad that you should have. And then don't forget other things like the cod liver, even like in a can, you can get it. I love that a few times a week. It's good for omega-3. It helps as an anti-inflammatory. Milk thistle is a really good supplement for the liver. But you just want to eat healthy and then avoid things that destroy the liver. Alcohol and junk food are at the top of the list.
Indeed, Wyoming Prairie Wife, what a great handle. Which is better, source of B1, benfotiamine or thiamine?
Well, thiamine is the general term for B1. So you have the synthetic version and then you have natural versions. There's one called thiamine, which is a natural from garlic, and it's even fat soluble. And then you have benfotiamine. Benfotiamine is the type of B1 that I think is better for peripheral neuropathy, which is the pain in the bottom of the feet. But I think for everything else, I would use the other natural version of B1, which is called thiamine. And that one is also fat soluble. It works pretty good. You know, I found some data that one penetrates the blood-brain barrier, whereas the benfotiamine doesn't, but still benfotiamine is good for certain things.
All right, very good. Let's go to Mom of 300. Good for you, Mom, from Rumble. If someone is having surgery to remove basal cell skin cancer, what would you recommend before and after to heal up, speed up the healing process?
Well, the most important before any surgery is to beef up your vitamin D levels. Your outcomes will be better, but you got to, if you're talking like 3 days before and you really want to make sure you penetrate, you don't want to have a little bit, you want to have a lot, because sometimes it takes a while to build up your vitamin D. So there's even data to show that people are literally taking 300,000 IUs of vitamin D3 before surgery. Now, maybe you don't want to do that, but I would take at least 50,000 IUs of vitamin D3 3 days before a surgery, just to beef up your levels. Your outcomes will be much better for all surgeries involved with this vitamin D. But also this skin cancer issue that you have, I would bet you anything that could be also related to a low vitamin D, because all cancer tends to thrive on a low vitamin D situation. Even when you have cancer, it downgrades your vitamin D levels because your immune system is there to fight cancer. And if it could somehow suppress it, it can survive. So definitely you want to get your vitamin D levels very high for not just the basal carcinoma, but also melanomas and things like that.
All right, very good. We've got quiz question number 1 answered, and it asked of the audience, if testosterone, including DHT, declines as we age, then why would DHT be the cause of an enlarged prostate? 70% of respondents say because DHT is more powerful androgen than testosterone. 20% say that testosterone actually converts into DHT, and 10% say it's because DHT binds to DNA more effectively than testosterone. Any whiz kids today?
Boy, you guys are really thinking. That's great. Yeah, you are correct. Now, but there's something even more interesting about that. Apparently, as you age, the receptors for DHT get more receptive. They become more sensitive. So now, even though you might have lower DHT, it's working more because there's more sensitivity. Now, DHT does a lot of things in the body, and we need it. But if it's too much, then you lose your hair, and then your prostate starts enlarging. So one of the things that you should know about that is that if we're talking about the prostate enlargement, the most important thing to focus on to help not just lower that DHT or make it normalized, but to just shrink it, is to eliminate or reduce the biggest trigger of the growth of the prostate, which is a hormone thing. Because all the hormones kind of go down, except this one goes up, and that is insulin. So insulin needs to be reduced. In the body, you have insulin resistance. And so there's certain organs that won't let insulin in, but prostate is not one of them. So if you're dealing with most people insulin resistance, especially if you have belly fat, you have insulin resistance or diabetes, what happens is that prostate gets hammered with so much insulin, it's going to enlarge, it's going to affect your urination at night. And the worst thing you can do is consume a lot of carbs and also snack, especially at night. You'll find that if you cut out the snacks at night and also through the day and just have 3 meals, you probably won't even be getting up through the night at all. So something to think about, something to try. But yeah, that's my quick summary.
All right, very good. Let's go feed another question to the audience. And there you go, Doc.
Okay, out of all the root causes of frequent urination at night, I just told you it.
Oh my goodness.
Out of all the root causes, I accidentally did that again. Out of all the root causes of frequent urination at night, what's the root cause? I just told you insulin resistance, okay, or insulin. There you go.
Wow.
I gave it to you.
Isn't that incredible? All right, freebie, you all win. How about that? That's absolutely fantastic. Let's go to Earth to Joy from Rumble. My doctors are recommending, like everyone else, that she get her gallbladder removed. I'm concerned about the after effects and risk of cancer. I've been using ox bile, but unsure what else to do. Doesn't describe any of the symptoms or whatever. But
well, I just so happen to have a gallbladder handy. If you want me to send it to you, we could actually put this one back in your body if you want, because they are, you take them out. We don't really need them. They're extra organs. God made a mistake and just gave us these extra organs, so they're not very functional. Get rid of it. It's not going to be an issue. Now, here's the thing with the gallbladder. I just released a video either today or yesterday on the gallbladder, and what did it say? It says, do not get rid of your gallbladder unless you absolutely have to. Because it's like one of the top surgeries out there. They take them out like it's like it's not a big thing. But the gallbladder doesn't just store bile. It regulates the amount of bile that should be in the small intestine. So if you don't have enough bile, not only do you lose the protection of microbes living in your small intestine, and then now you're susceptible to small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which is a huge problem, but also the lack of breaking down fat-soluble nutrients, vitamin A, D, E, K, K1, K2, and omega-3 fatty acids. So, I mean, I would always ask your doctor, like, well, what about all that? Oh yeah, but you'll still release bile. Yeah, you're going to be trickling bile down this little tube into the small intestine, but not at the right amounts and not at the right concentrations. And also, that bile is one of the primary ways of getting rid of excess cholesterol. So bile is way more important than you might think.
All right, very good. I think this is a first in questions. Mary from Facebook. What are your thoughts about eating or drinking raw cactus? Are there any benefits? I can think of some downsides.
Well, it's really delicious. You just got to make sure when you chew the little thorns that you don't get them stuck in your tongue. I don't know. I haven't looked at cactus juice in a while. I do know that you can make tequila out of it, which is pretty tasty. But other than that, no, I don't have any comment on that.
All right. Good luck with the cactus. Vanessa from Facebook. What are the benefits of using sunflower oil?
So there's 2 types of sunflower oil. There's the regular stuff, which is I would not consume it, especially since it's all these oils are refined. They're cooked, they're bleached, they're highly inflammatory. But there is a version called cold pressed high oleic sunflower oil and safflower oil. That's different. That might be okay as long as you don't heat it. So you're like, wow, yeah, but I'm using it to fry my food. Yeah, then you create problems when you heat it. So as long as you eat it without heating it, you'll probably have less of a problem. So that's my answer.
All right, very good. Let's go to Beach Gal from YouTube. Is raw vegan diet good for gastroparesis? I also have Sjogren's disease and Hashimoto's. Got a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not, because if you just take a look at what should the normal pH of the stomach be, it should be between 1 and 3. Wow, that's good data, because why would your body be designed to have literally battery acid being a normal thing? Well, it's because we need that to break down protein to kill microbes. There is no plant-based anything that is needed that much acid to break it down other than protein. So right there, it kind of tells us what food we should be eating. The purpose also of that acid is to then trigger the gallbladder to release bile, and also the pancreas to release its digestive juices. But I completely lost track of the actual question. So if you can give me that one more time, Steve.
Oh gosh, I'm embarrassed. Let's see. I already deleted it. How awful. That is so bad.
So anyway,
Moving right along.
I think it was related to, they wanted to know if eating a vegan diet was good for some type of stomach problem. Well, I think if you lose your acidity, then you just need to put it back, okay, by adding betaine hydrochloride. So that's the correct thing to do. And because you have less of a ability to digest meat, and that can happen pretty quick by reestablishing that acid. In the meantime, maybe you have more vegetables, but be careful about the vegan foods, because a lot of times they slip in the soy protein isolates and all this other crap that's not real food. But the other thing, little point is, if you take betaine hydrochloride and it feels worse, maybe you have an ulcer, in which case you have to heal that, and probably you're going to have to do. You just lost the ability to digest a lot of protein, but I think you can do some fermented, food like sauerkraut, unless that burns your stomach. But maybe just do some chlorophyll. But you have to be careful with the vegan foods, because the fiber also might be a problem too, because if you lost the acid in the stomach, and then now we have microbes that can easily not be killed and end up in your small intestine, and you get SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So I just don't look at vegan foods as a solution for anything.
Yeah, okay. And by the way, Terry saved us by shooting over, just in case you want to add comment. She has gastroparesis.
Oh, gastroparesis. I'm sorry. Okay,
Sjogren's, and Hashimoto's.
Yeah, that's gastroparesis is a it's an autonomic nervous system problem, in which case you need to take vitamin B1 in large quantities to fix that. That's one of the symptoms too from taking Ozempic. So that's why I don't recommend it, where the digestive system is very, very slow and sluggish. You also mentioned 2 other autoimmune diseases. And,
Hashimoto's, right?
Yep.
And
So
Sjogren's.
So I would recommend taking higher doses of vitamin D3 and magnesium to put that back in remission.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Terry, for catching us up. Let's go to our green room. And we've got a nice gentleman from Croatia with us. And his name is Goran. And he has a question about his daughter. Go ahead, Goran, with your question for Dr. Berg.
Good morning, Dr. Berg. I'm thrilled to be here. Well, I have a question. Recently, I have seen your video about how to increase your height and grow taller for the kids. My daughter is not a kid anymore. She's 19, but she's still in her teens. So hopefully she wanted to, squeeze another centimeter or inch For her height, she's 5'5", and everybody in family are 6'1" or more, you know. And I ordered, of course, the pituitropin PMG that you recommended, and some trace minerals, and of course magnesium glycinate, and so. But what about the diet? That's actually my question.
Yeah.
Does she
So
need
so
any? Yeah. Sorry.
so what happens is so all we can do is just supply the raw material and the cofactors nutrition to um, maximize or optimize normal growth within her genetics. So there's a point of no return where you stop growing. But you know, there's a chance that she can grow a little bit taller if she's even 19. But typically, that's kind of where we stop growing. But I would just, again, in practice, I found that pituitropin from standard process. I've given that to some of these kids that were like they should have been taller, and within months they just start shooting up. So I've seen it, but just don't quote me on that if someone asks you, because they're going to think it's like, what? There's no way. And then the trace minerals really supply all the different cofactors for whatever is missing. I would also recommend 2 additional things because they're very important in optimizing your genetics: vitamin D and magnesium. Those 2 would be very, very important. And then also supplying high quality animal protein for not just the collagen, but for proteins that you need, and as in like meat, things like that. And then of course avoid junk food. I think, and then keep the stress as low as possible. And then let's see what happens. You know, who knows? You might grow, might not. I don't know, but it's worth a shot.
All right, that's great, Goran. Thanks so much. We're all rooting for you and your daughter. Let's see. And Goran, stick around. Why don't you help us answer this question? There's number 3 for the day, Doc.
Okay. How can the junk food industry, legally called ultra-processed food, looks like we added a different food in there, if it doesn't fit the definition of food, which is this: that which is eaten to sustain life and promote the growth and repair of tissues, nourishment?
All right, folks. We're all on that. Meanwhile, Bomac 23 from Rumble. Should I take TUDCA while fasting?
It's up to you. But the TUDCA is really interesting. I've been taking it recently just because the problem is this: when you study this stuff, like what certain things do, you're like, oh, maybe I need that. I need that. So let me try that, because in your cells right here, you got all these different called organelles, and you got the mitochondria in there, but you got this other one here, which is called the endoplasmic reticulum. And I know, Steve, you've always been asking me about that for a long time. I'm finally going to tell you. That's a little part of your cells that make hormones, that make proteins, it makes like body tissue, right? So, and also it's kind of when you, I found when I originally kind of studied TUDCA, something jumped out in one of the descriptions in one of the textbooks saying it's kind of specializes in supporting endoplasmic reticulum stress. And I'm like, okay, well, it's probably not significant. But many times before the mitochondria goes down, the endoplasmic reticulum also has to go down first. So there's definitely this relationship between those 2 that I recently learned about. And I'm like, wow, I think I need to be taking some TUDCA, because I want my mitochondria to be good, but also think about even with diabetes and blood sugars, out of all the hormones that have to be forced to work so hard, insulin is at the top of the list. So there's even data to show that even before you get diabetes, the endoplasmic reticulum that makes all this insulin has to be stressed out. So I'm like, wow, that makes sense. So I have a long history of abusing sugar. So I'm like, I'm going to take some of that TUDCA. I'm like, wow, why do I feel a little bit better? So it's just kind of a way to optimize the inside of the cell, that part that does some interesting things hormonally, and but it does a lot of other things too. But again, I'm a human guinea pig. I'm always trying things. So it's something that stay tuned for more updates.
How fun. Well, I'm glad you survived it all. In addition to our friend Goran from Croatia, let's see who else is watching the show today. So we'd like to say a good day to all of our other viewers joining us today from the UK, Canada, Mexico, United Arab Emirates, Austria, Japan, France, South Africa, the Virgin Islands, Peru, Greece, Germany, Finland, American Samoa, Brunei, Ukraine, the Netherlands, Iceland, Finland, America, Samoa, the Netherlands, Iceland, Moldova, Belgium, Chile, Panama, Turkey, Oman, Egypt, Pakistan, Switzerland, Brazil, Australia this time, the Philippines, Israel, Trinidad and Tobago, Sweden, Denmark, Indonesia, Nepal, Curacao, Somalia, Eritrea, Romania, Cameroon, Vietnam, Italy, Hungary, and all across these United States. Thanks everybody for joining us today and making the show a success. Let's go to Savita from YouTube. Should I take magnesium glycinate on an empty stomach?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be a good idea. It doesn't have fat-soluble nutrients, so yeah, it's totally fine.
All right, very good. Let's see. Let's go to quiz question number. Let's see. Did we already ask quiz question number 3? Forgive me, Doc. I'm embarrassed. We did. I'm sorry. Yeah, we sure did. So instead of that, let's go to Kenneth from YouTube. I've done enough research to be confused. Is it better for us to take NAD or NMN? Thank you for sharing your thoughts. So NAD versus NMN.
So here's the thing. You're talking about supporting something in your mitochondria, in the little Krebs cycle, which is a little factory to make energy. There's something that helps extract electrons and move them around and create a battery inside there. And NAD is part of that. And so people found that when they get older, that goes down. So then they take it for longevity reasons and also to help support the mitochondria. And the question is, what form should I take? There's a lot of versions, NAD plus, that you can take out there. And I think, honestly, they're overpriced. If you just buy niacin, the one that flushes you, you will get something that can build up that NAD, and it's super inexpensive, and you can save yourself a lot of money. And maybe it doesn't absorb quite as well, but enough to supply that little thing, that little mechanism in there. But I want to just bring up one more thing, because if we're talking about something in our cells, the mitochondria, NAD has got a lot of attention of longevity, but there's something that's also parallel to the NAD. If you've ever taken biochemistry, you'll know what this is. It's FAD. So both of those, NAD and FAD, kind of work together to take these electrons through in this assembly line. And so niacin, B3, supports NAD, but B2 supports the FAD. And people don't even talk about that. So they should also be getting B2, and you can get that in a good B complex, or just eating. You can get it in a lot of different foods as well. So it's not something that most people are deficient in, but it's kind of one of those things that is completely under the radar and no one talks about it. But I think it's equally as important if you want to increase your longevity. Now, also just the parallel to that, I don't have it around here, but methylene blue, a lot of people are taking that. That's something, when you look at this assembly line in your factory, you have this little part over here, which is the Krebs cycle, and then you have this other thing right over here, which is, I'm not even getting into the technical part, but it's now we're dealing with the battery part, and we're dealing with electrons. And a lot of times that part can be broken because you're eating the wrong foods. And methylene blue bypasses that whole thing and kind of goes right to the end and helps kind of rewire that battery. And so methylene blue has some great benefits for that. As I'm studying that, there's a couple other things that are really good too to help you make more ATP energy. Because if you look at metabolic disease, we're really dealing with a cell that just can't get energy despite an abundance of energy around it. So again, supplying the energy to cells is key. So The other thing that is the red light therapy is quite interesting. So they're using it now on stimulating more mitochondria and more ATP in your eyes for vision. So there's a little, getting into the eyes. There's even a device I'm experimenting right now on my eyes. You also can use it on just going out in the sun and getting more infrared. 50% of the sun is infrared. So there's a lot of new therapies out there involving light, a red light, which I think is going to be quite fascinating to restore different problems in the body that relate to the breakdown of that mitochondria.
Okay, Fatima from Facebook. How do I get rid of endometriosis and complex cysts?
So I don't know if I did a video on this, but there's a great protocol for that too. That involves the most important missing piece in both fibroids and endometriosis, which is this extra growth tissue around the uterus. What you really need is much higher doses of vitamin D3. Like I'm talking 20, maybe 30,000 IUs a day with magnesium. Just do that and then avoid, anything that would mess with your insulin. So that would be low carb, and just give it time. That's what I would recommend if I were you. And then I will, I don't know if I'll have a video coming out, but I will have the protocol. I'll put that up on the website within the next month.
All right, very good. Let's go to quiz question number 3, which asked of the audience, how can the junk food industry legally call UPF food if it doesn't fit the definition of food, which is that which is eaten to sustain life and promote and repair and growth of tissues and nourishment? And the audience has an answer. 80% say it's because they technically provide calories. 10% say because they provide macronutrients like fats and carbohydrates. And the final 10% say because they are food derivatives. Is that smart?
Let's just say you might want to be sitting down for this answer.
Oh,
because there are 2 definitions of food. The real biological definition, which you now already know, but there's a legal definition of food that was established in 1938. Check this out. The legal definition of food by the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. Articles used for food and drink for man, chewing gum, articles needed for components of any such articles, as long as it's labeled and packaged correctly. Now, what the heck does that mean? No one knows. It's just a general statement using food within the definition. This is the perfect definition of a no definition, okay? It's just not, it doesn't even define it, but it's a loophole for industry that was lobbied at the time from Kellogg's and General Mills to be able to make it so vague they can pretty much sell you anything and normalize it over time and call it food. So RFK right now is working on the definition of ultra-processed food. I hope he also brings back and makes the definition, the legal definition, the actual real definition. I hope he does that, because you can't build health on what they're serving you now. You can't. It's the root cause of disease. And my thought is, if you can just make it a regulation or even a law that in order to call something food, it has to nourish the body, and then they have to prove it. Not that we have to prove it is not food, but have them spend their money to prove that it's food. And if they can't prove it, which they're not going to do the study because they can't prove it, then they can't call it food. Maybe they can call it edible product. So that way, Steve, if you're sitting at the table for dinner, you can go, can you pass me that edible product over there? Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. And then have a warning label, may cause addictive properties, just on tobacco, right? Is one of the primary drivers of metabolic disease and chronic disease. That's what they should say. I hope he does it.
But they don't. All right, maybe that'll change. What is the, quiz question number 4 for you to ask, Doc.
What is the most important vitamin to help address vertigo?
Audience, climb on that if you will. Okay, so let's see. Zoe Anna from Rumble. If you don't get 8 hours of continuous sleep, but get 5 or 6 at night instead and add 2 or 3 hours of sleep during the day, is that just as good as 8 hours of continuous sleep? I think that's a great question.
I think it's almost just as good. I think it's a good solution right now. So do that, because sometimes people, work certain ways where they can't get that, and that's a great solution. Yeah, try to make it up, but it's not always easy to get that 8-9 hours. Like I want to get 7. It's even hard to get 7, but yeah, get that nap in there, and that can actually help you.
That's great. BRLP from Rumble. You advised me 2 months ago to use vitamin C serum on my brownish mark on my shin, and it's working. It's barely visible now, so they appreciate your counsel, Dr. Berg. Zoe from Rumble. Excuse me. Mary from YouTube. What is the best way to treat high storage of iron? You always warn about that. Low blood saturation. Could this condition be related to a low white blood cell count? That have anything to do with it? Too much iron?
It could be related, because as soon as your iron goes up, the microbes start eating it, and they start thriving, specifically pathogens. That's what they eat. We need oxygen, they need iron. So you got to be careful. Don't take an iron pill. Don't consume any food that's fortified with iron. It's a lot of things, and that describes all the grains and stuff, the refined grains. And then don't cook in an iron skillet. So a couple things to lower that, and I think you're talking about ferritin, which is kind of a storage of iron in the cell to keep it safe and regulated. Copper is a key trace mineral to help regulate that. I did a video on that. You can watch that.
Very good. Redskin fan from Rumble. What are your thoughts about taking nitric oxide and Neprinol for improved blood flow? Any opinion on that, Doc?
All I can comment on is nitric oxide is good for blood flow. Arugula is the top thing to help you with nitric oxide, because nitric oxide is a vasodilator in the arteries, and it can help a lot of things, and also help lower blood pressure. But beets are number 2. Also, there's various supplements that can also increase nitric oxide, which they use as medications, which the problem with that, it gives you side effects. So why not use the natural ones? The natural ones don't work as strong, but you don't necessarily want to have something so potent, because it always comes with a package, a side effect. So if you have something natural to increase nitric oxide, you're always going to be better off. There are certain supplements like arginine and I think it's called citrusol, if I'm not mistaken, that can also increase nitric oxide. And even you can increase it with cacao, like in your coffee, chocolate, like unsweetened. So there's a lot of things that you can do to increase that. Even exercise is a great way to increase nitric oxide as well.
All right, very good. Let's go to Eric from Rumble. How many times a day should I take your vitamin B3 niacin? Is there a routine for that?
I think you just need it once. Once is fine. It's going to give that flush, so just expect it. And I think once is going to be fine.
Good. Let's go with that. Greg from Facebook. Can carpal tunnel syndrome be healed without surgery?
I think so. Hopefully. One of the nutrients that can support that would be vitamin B6. But also in practice, I found that if, let's say, carpal tunnel's on the left side, if you work on the muscles on your forearm on the opposite side of the tunnel, on the back part, a lot of times that will actually relieve the carpal tunnel syndrome. And even on the opposite wrist, try it. It might work. Also on the mouse on your computer, working on that all the time, you got to be careful, because that can really build up a lot of tension in that carpal tunnel and pinch off the nerves. So repetitive trauma is not good.
All right, avoid that. Yvonne from Facebook. Should people with hypothyroidism take liquid iodine?
It depends if they have autoimmune Hashimoto's, in which case a better nutrient would be selenium. But if they don't, iodine would be helpful, but that's not the only thing. with Hashimoto's or with hypothyroidism, you got to be careful about also gluten is bad, and you want to take more vitamin D, and you just want to eat super healthy to feed the body so it can heal.
All right, very
I
good.
mean, what's really interesting about autoimmune disease, in the first part of the century, you don't even see autoimmune disease. In the 50s, you didn't really see any autoimmune disease. So what is going on? I think a lot of it's diet. And so I think if we can just go back to healthier foods, I think we can resolve it. That's just my guess.
Well, when I was a little kid, everyone seemed healthy and busy and spunky, so something's changed. Okay, let's go to quiz question number 4, which asks to the audience, what is the most important vitamin to address vertigo? 65% of our respondents say it's vitamin D, 25% say it's vitamin B1 or B12, and 10% say it's good old magnesium.
Okay, so the answer is vitamin D with magnesium, because what happens with vertigo is you have the little chunks of calcium crystals that are broken off from one part of the ear. Let's see if I see my ear around here, I'll show you. In fact, I think I have my ear handy. Let me just get it for you, Steve. Okay, I got my ear right here. Okay, we got the ear in focus here.
Yes,
so
sir.
we have these little crystals that are breaking off, and of course the little thing that I needed is probably over here, but I'm not going to get it. But anyway, in one part of the ear, you're breaking off these little crystals, and then it goes into another part of the ear, which is kind of like a 3D gyroscope, goes in these little canals. And then you have these broken little pieces of calcium that, oh my gosh, you just move your head a little bit and you just like feel dizzy. Where is that coming from? Well, those crystals are supposed to be embedded into this gel in a certain place of your ear to add more mass, to allow the hairs to be more sensitive, to be able to pick up your position in space. And also the acceleration, it'll pick that up. It's quite a miraculous, a miracle thing. So what happens though, those little tiny, that glue that keeps them there, it's a protein, needs vitamin D. So when you're deficient in vitamin D, you lose the glue, and then those little crystals pop off. Now there's an Epley maneuver that you can do, an exercise that you can, try to push them back. And I actually have a video on that. But if you just took vitamin D, and there's a lot of research on this, you can actually improve that situation. So anyway, now you know.
Very good. And good old vitamin D comes to save the day an awful lot. And here's quiz question number 5 for us.
True or false? Your kidneys filter 50 gallons of blood per day. 50 gallons.
All right, folks, true or false? Dr. Woody from YouTube, I was steadily losing weight, but now I find myself in a weeks-long plateau. How can I break this through? Didn't mention if he's doing keto or what his modus operandi is, but there you have it.
The most someone can lose per week is 2 pounds of fat. So, but most people, if there's someone healthy, you're talking about 1 pound of fat. So Steve, if you were to weigh yourself every single day, if you divide 1 pound by 7 days, what do you get? You get a smaller fraction of a pound, right? So you might not be able to see that when you're weighing yourself. It's like, well, it's like, doesn't seem like I'm losing weight, right? Because you're looking every day. So maybe you measure yourself every week to be able to determine that. But also use a tape measure to measure your waist. That would be better at the level of the belly button. I think a much better indicator than weight is your appetite. When you lose your appetite, that means you're burning fat. That's one of the best indicators. You can go from one meal to the next without having to be hungry. Because sometimes when you're starting this program, you're going to be building more muscle that was lost from the atrophy of this beforehand. And so it might be a net zero. So this is why I don't like weight as the best indicator for health. But That being said, if you wanted to lose more fat, you want to do longer fasting, and you want to sleep more exercise, and also cut those calories down to zero. That's called the carnivore diet.
All right, very good. Let's go to, I hope I didn't butcher your name, Aprna from YouTube. Which supplements are best for lymphatic support?
I don't think there's any special ones for lymphatic support. I think it's just kind of like bringing your body back into a really good balanced state. But, honestly, I have not found the key vitamin or nutrient that will just fix that system. It's a matter of really looking at the whole picture. And is it lymphedema? Is it some genetic thing? Is it related to the liver because the liver is involved? You have the portal vein there. So I don't think I think I would just focus on just optimizing your overall health.
All right, very good. And it was probably Aparna. Sorry for butchering your name, whatever it is. Sharon from YouTube. Will my cayenne, pepper, lemon, and flaxseed drink break my fasting? Another good question, I think.
Not very much. I think it's going to be a minor thing.
All right, good. You carry on. Brenda from Facebook. What's the best nutrients for someone recovering from a stroke 6 months ago, trying to restore feeling on one side? Ouch.
Well, the best thing, and it's expensive though, is getting in one of those hyperbaric chambers where you're increasing oxygen and infusing that into the brain. That would be the best thing that you can do. But you can also do this in an inexpensive way by getting more exercise. Okay, high intensity interval exercise. But there's one more really cool thing that I would add to this, probably gradually, not right away, is to start to include some intermittent hypoxia training. What the heck is that? Well, there's a little mass that restricts air for a very short period of time that then causes your body to rebound and compensate and start growing more blood vessels in the tissues. And so you're mimicking exercise at a very high altitude. I'm doing it right now. I love it. It's amazing. And you just do these short little exercises with restricting your air. So, but you got to do this very gradually, do it correctly, probably get a coach because you can overdo it. But chronic obstruction of oxygen is not good, okay? It's called hypoxia. That's what created the stroke in the first place. But intermittent hypoxia can be beneficial. Just like long-term fasting, Steve, is not good, okay? Like if you did fasting, complete prolonged fasting for 2 years, probably not a good idea. Also, the cold bath is probably not good for 20 hours. And exercise 24/7 is probably also not a good idea. So we're talking about intermittent stress with recovery, okay? That's really the key.
That's interesting. I've been with Dr. Berg for at least 10 years, and I watch myself to continue to degenerate while he appears to stay the same. So he must have found some balance, and it's an awful process to watch as I just sort of slip by. Anyway, Paysor from Facebook, can stem cells help out CKD, chronic kidney disease, patients? Stem cells.
Yeah, absolutely. Heard some great things about that because any tissue that is breaking down, especially the kidneys, can be greatly improved by stem cells. And I know there's research on that now. And I think ideally, it would have been nice if my parents extracted some of my stem cells as a baby and then put them on ice until now, because I could actually use them about now. And then that way I can get some rejuvenation. But I don't know. Maybe you might want to think about that, Steve. But I guess you can't do it anymore.
Nah, I think that ship has sailed. All right, let's go. Let's see. Let's go to our final quiz question, a true falser to give the audience a break. Your kidneys filter 50 gallons of blood per day, and 100% of our respondents say that is absolutely true. Are they correct, or are they?
Yeah, they are correct. Correct. Now, if you think about that, that's a tremendous amount of blood that's being filtered. Yet, it only gets rid of 1 to 2 liters of that fluid, okay, per day. So when you think about that, think about how efficient that is, because we're dealing with a nephron, which is a kidney cell that has these tiny little filters. And engineers have studied this because it's quite miraculous. It's probably the size of a speck of dust, and you have 1 million of these little guys per kidney. Yet you could stretch it out between 2 inches. So it has this tube that's all kind of bundled up in a ball to increase more surface area to do its job. But it has all this fascinating selective reabsorption and complexities that it's able to pull in and push out at different levels, different nutrients that we need to recycle. So our bodies don't like to waste anything. It'll just keep recycling and keep recycling the water to the point where it's super, super efficient. You just might want to think about the next time you eat a donut, Steve, because what you're doing to that nephron is you're literally putting so much stress in that thing. It's creating inflammation, it creates scar tissue and damage to the point where all of a sudden you develop these little rust hole spots. And then all of a sudden the protein goes through and you lose protein to your urine. So there's a really good, I think it's called an albumin creatine test. It's a home test that you can get to pick up that kidney damage years before you even have any symptoms. So I think you can get a home test. I think it's called the albumin creatine ratio test. And that's a really good indicator to see what's going on. But yeah, even in a diabetic, you're creating these holes and then the glucose is ending up in your urine. And so, it's just a miraculous thing that once you understand about it, you appreciate it more, you take care of it, and you think twice about eating that junk food.
Well, let me put myself on the spectrum, because I think there's a lot of me. I really do intermittent fasting 420 every day. I take it seriously. I'm down 50 pounds. I feel great. I've got more energy. I can exercise, but I am not a perfect eater during those 4 hours. I do have illegal carbohydrates, let's call them. So I don't shove down cake or that stuff anymore, but I do slip sometime. Where does that put me? Am I seeing benefits? It appears that I am, or is only keto going to save me, or where would you put a guy like me?
Well, I think it's definitely it's better than nothing. it's better than nothing. You could always improve it, but if you think about all the wonderful things when you stop eating, your body's repairing, and then putting that back in. I would, if I were you, Steve, I would just try to find some healthy alternatives to that, because I'll guarantee there is things that might take a little bit of time to cook them yourself, but there's an alternative for virtually everything that gives you almost the same pleasure. So anyway, that's something to think about. I think also, even with addictions to sugar or any addictions, it starts off where you're trying to get that pleasure, but then it shifts and it no longer is about that. It's about avoiding the pain or the pressure from the withdrawals that you get. And so then you got to take something to give yourself relief. So, if you just really understand these mechanisms, I'm going to do a video on this, but you can naturally use nutrients to mitigate this this pressure and this withdrawal from junk food, and get yourself into a place where now you have no more physical cravings. Now you might have habits that you have to overcome, but that can be easily overcome just by sticking with it and exercising that muscle of not even having it in the house, because once it's in the house, then you got to say no to it more than once every night.
That's true. Well, thanks for that counsel. I am going to take that more seriously. I'll report back. It's all about the audience for the last 30 seconds. A vet from YouTube: should a 14-year-old teen be taking creatine? If so, what would be the recommended daily dose? Didn't say if it was a male or female, if that makes any difference.
Yeah, I don't know what the dose should be for that, so you're just going to have to look that up. I don't have that data, but creatine is one of the most researched nutritional products out there for increasing strength when you're working out and even increasing some muscle growth, because it helps your ATP energy. So some people that work out, if they have more energy, boy, that makes it easier, right? You ever try to work out when you're tired and you feel like, I don't feel like it? So creatine monohydrate is a really good thing that to take your workouts to the next level. And it just might be the thing that motivates you to exercise because you have the energy to exercise. Personally, myself, I don't have to, it's not a big thing for me to just go exercise. In fact, I crave it. I want to do it because I like that feeling. Some people don't, but I'm lucky in that way. On that note, thank you for listening this long. Have a wonderful weekend. I will see you next week.